The last resort. The crystalline spires of the Galactic Alliance headquarters pierced the violet sky of Centauri Prime, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 setting suns. Inside the Grand Chamber, Commander Sarah Chen stood before the Council of 7, her shoulders square and her expression neutral despite the tension that filled the vast chamber. The emergency session had been called with unprecedented urgency, and she could feel the weight of 24 alien species' attention bearing down on her. High Counselor Zixtal, his translucent appendages rippling with bioluminescent patterns of concern, spoke first. "Commander Chen, you understand why we've summoned you." "The Helix anomaly," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "It's growing faster than predicted." The holographic display in the center of the chamber flickered to life, showing a massive quantum distortion that twisted space itself into impossible shapes. The anomaly had appeared 3 standard months ago along the Orion Cygnus trade route, and it had already swallowed 2 cargo vessels and a science station. Precisely. Zixtal's patterns shifted to a deep blue of gravity. Our best minds have failed to find a solution. The quantum mathematics involved exceed even our most advanced computational systems. From her left, Council Member Ragnok, a hulking Taurian with chrome-plated horns, snorted in derision. "And you believe these? Humans might succeed where the collective intelligence of the Proxima cluster failed. They've barely mastered faster-than-light travel." Sarah felt her jaw tighten, but kept her composure. This wasn't the first time she'd faced such skepticism, and it wouldn't be the last. The Phoenix was designed specifically for quantum-level space-time manipulation, Counselor. Our approach to physics might be unconventional by galactic standards, but unconventional. Ragnok interrupted, pawing the ground. "Your species still uses visual navigation in quantum space. You rely on organic neural networks instead of proper quantum computers. Your methods are primitive at best, dangerous at worst. Yet they work," came a quiet voice from the far end of the chamber. Council Member Lyra, one of the few Andromedans who had supported human integration into the Alliance, rose from her seat. Her crystalline form caught the light as she moved. The Phoenix's test results speak for themselves. Their success rate in unstable quantum environments exceeds our standard vessels by 47%. Sarah nodded gratefully to Lyra before addressing the Council again. "The Phoenix may be our best chance at containing the anomaly before it spreads to populated systems. My crew has trained extensively for exactly this type of situation." The holographic display shifted, showing the sleek form of the Phoenix. Unlike the geometric precision of Alliance vessels, the Phoenix's design seemed almost organic, with curves and asymmetries that confused alien sensors, but allowed it to slip through quantum distortions like water through stones. "Your first officer, Kai Jackson," Zixtal noted, reading from a glowing data stream. "He uses what you call intuitive navigation." "Correct," Sarah confirmed. "Kai has an unprecedented natural ability to perceive quantum fluctuations. Combined with Dr. Marcus Webb's theoretical work and Engineer Maya Patel's innovations, we've achieved results that even we didn't think possible." The chamber fell silent as the council members communicated through their neural networks. Sarah waited, knowing that every second they delayed meant the anomaly grew stronger. Finally, Zixtal's appendages flashed with the white light of decision. "The council has reached consensus," he announced. "Despite significant reservations, we are authorizing the Phoenix to attempt containment of the Helix anomaly. However," his patterns darkened, "be aware that failure could result in the complete destabilization of the sector's space-time fabric." "Understood, High Counselor," Sarah replied, already planning the mission in her head. "We'll depart as soon as—" A violent tremor shook the chamber, sending ripples through the holographic display. Emergency signals flashed across the alien data streams, and Sarah's wrist computer chirped with an urgent alert. "The anomaly has just consumed the Vega outpost," Lyra announced, her crystalline form vibrating with distress. "Temporal shockwaves are already affecting nearby systems." "Commander Chen," Zixtal's patterns now pulsed with urgent red, Your window of opportunity is closing. The Phoenix must launch immediately. Sarah was already moving. Sending launch codes now. My crew is standing by. She paused at the chamber's threshold, looking back at the council. We won't let you down. As she strode through the corridors of the Alliance headquarters, Sarah opened a secure channel to her ship. Phoenix, this is Commander Chen. Start pre-launch sequences. We're going in. The response came immediately, Kai's confident voice filling her earpiece. About time, Commander. We've been running simulations since the anomaly first appeared. Maya's got some ideas you're going to want to hear. Brief me on the way up, Sarah replied, stepping onto a gravity lift that would take her to the landing platform. And Kai, tell the crew to prep for full quantum immersion. We're not approaching this one by the book. When do we ever? She could hear the grin in his voice. The Phoenix waited above, its hull shimmering with the quantum field that made it unique among all ships in the galaxy. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Alliance might doubt human methods, but they were about to learn why Earth's descendants had survived and thrived against all odds in this hostile universe. They had something no other species had fully mastered: the ability to embrace chaos, to find patterns in randomness, and to turn scientific impossibilities into new laws of physics. The Phoenix was more than just a ship. It was humanity's proof that sometimes the most primitive solution was exactly what an advanced problem needed. As she approached the landing platform, the first temporal shockwave hit, making the very air shimmer with quantum distortions. There was no time left for doubt or debate. The Phoenix would either save the sector, or they would all discover firsthand what lay beyond the boundaries of known spacetime. Sarah had a feeling they were about to rewrite the laws of physics either way. Impossible calculations. The Phoenix's bridge hummed with activity as Commander Sarah Chen stepped through the quantum-shielded doors. Holographic displays filled the air with cascading data streams, their cool blue light reflecting off the organically curved walls that were so different from standard Alliance architecture. Dr. Marcus Webb stood at the central console, his dark hands dancing through the holographic equations that surrounded him. His notorious quantum theory had made him an outcast among traditional Alliance scientists, but Sarah had always believed his impossible ideas might save them all one day. That day had apparently arrived. "Talk to me, Marcus," Sarah ordered, settling into the command chair. "What are we dealing with?" Marcus gestured, expanding a particular set of equations. "The anomaly's breaking every rule in the book, Commander. It's not just bending spacetime. It's rewriting quantum laws as it expands. Alliance calculations can't predict it because it's operating on principles their computers don't recognize." From the pilot station, Kai Jackson spoke without taking his eyes off his own displays. "It's like trying to map a hurricane using only straight lines. Their systems are too rigid, too dependent on established physics." "Then we break the rules too," Sarah said, studying the real-time feed of the anomaly. "Maya, how's our quantum drive holding up?" Engineer Maya Patel's voice came through the comm system, accompanied by the deep thrum of the Phoenix's experimental engine. "Ready for anything, Commander. I've modified the quantum field generators based on Marcus's calculations. We can match the anomaly's frequency shifts, but..." She paused. "It's going to feel like flying through a supernova. Better than being trapped in a time loop like those Alliance cargo ships." Kai noted grimly. "Latest scans show they're still caught in there, experiencing the same 3 minutes over and over." Sarah leaned forward, watching the swirling patterns of the anomaly through the quantum-filtered view screen. The massive distortion twisted like a living thing, its colors shifting through spectrums that human eyes weren't meant to see. The Alliance's traditional approach of trying to contain and suppress it had only made it stronger. "Marcus," she said, "show me your theory again." Dr. Webb nodded, pulling up a new set of holographic models. Traditional quantum physics treats spacetime as a fixed framework that can be warped but not fundamentally altered. But what we're seeing here suggests it's more like a fluid. The anomaly isn't just bending spacetime. It's changing its basic properties, like turning water into steam. And the Alliance keeps trying to freeze it, Maya added over the comm. That's why their containment attempts failed. They're fighting against the natural flow. Kai's hands moved across his controls, making minute adjustments as temporal shockwaves buffeted the ship. So instead of fighting it, we ride it. Like surfing a wave. Precisely, Marcus confirmed, his eyes lighting up. But we need to calculate exactly where and how to enter the anomaly's flow. One wrong move and we'll end up like those cargo ships, or worse. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. They were about to attempt something that violated every safety protocol in Alliance space. If they succeeded, they'd revolutionize quantum physics. If they failed, they'd probably create an even bigger catastrophe. Sarah stood, walking to the main viewport. Beyond the quantum-filtered glass, normal space was already beginning to distort as they approached the anomaly's outer influence. Maya, how long can the drive sustain full quantum immersion? Theoretically, about 20 minutes before the exotic matter core starts to destabilize. After that, Maya's voice trailed off. We won't need 20 minutes, Marcus said quietly. Either we'll succeed in the first 5, or we won't succeed at all. Sarah turned to face her crew. The Alliance thinks we're going to try to contain this thing. But that's not our plan, is it, Marcus? The scientist shook his head. Containment is impossible now. But if we can match its quantum frequency perfectly, ride its flow instead of fighting it, we might be able to guide it. Like shepherding a river into a new channel. And you're sure about these calculations? Sarah asked, knowing how much rested on their accuracy. Marcus met her gaze steadily. As sure as I can be about something that rewrites physics as we know it. The math works, Commander. It's just math that no Alliance computer would ever think to try. Because it looks like nonsense to their quantum processors, Kai added with a slight grin. Too organic, too irregular, too human. Sarah returned to her command chair, making her decision. Maya, begin quantum drive warm-up sequence. Kai, plot us a course that follows Marcus's calculations. Let's show the Alliance why humans still trust their instincts. As the crew prepared for their unprecedented attempt, Sarah opened a channel to Alliance Command. Phoenix to control. We're approaching the anomaly now. Be advised we're initiating the Phoenix Protocol. Protocol. High Counselor Zixtel's voice crackled with interference. What protocol? This wasn't in your mission brief, Commander Chen. That's because we just invented it, Sarah replied calmly. Stand by for quantum physics to get very interesting. She closed the channel before they could respond. The time for explanation was over. Now it was time to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their calculations, but their ability to look at an impossible problem and see a solution that no one else would dare to try. The Phoenix's quantum drive began to pulse with increasing power as they approached the edge of the anomaly. Normal space dissolved around them, reality itself preparing to be reshaped by human ingenuity and determination. They were about to attempt the impossible, and Sarah had a feeling they were going to succeed, precisely because everyone else thought they would fail. Trial by fire. Reality twisted around the Phoenix as it approached the outer boundary of the Helix anomaly. The ship's quantum field generators whined under the strain, creating the specialized bubble of warped space-time that would allow them to survive what came next. On the bridge, warning indicators flashed as normal physics began to break down. Quantum field at 90%, Maya reported from engineering, her voice steady despite the mounting pressure. Exotic matter core is stable, but we're seeing fluctuations I've never encountered before. Commander Chen watched as the massive anomaly filled their view screen, its swirling patterns hypnotic and terrifying. Marcus, what are we looking at? Dr. Webb's hands moved through the holographic data streams, his expression intense. The anomaly's quantum signature is shifting faster than predicted. It's like it's adapting to our presence. He paused, adjusting calculations on the fly. We need to synchronize with its frequency before we can attempt to guide it. Alliance control is demanding we abort. Kai announced from the pilot's station, a touch of amusement in his voice despite the situation. "They're saying our approach will trigger a cascade failure." Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. "They're right, by their physics. Maya, divert all non-essential power to the quantum drive. Kai, take us in. Nice and slow." The Phoenix edged forward, its unconventional design allowing it to slip through the quantum distortions that would have torn a normal ship apart. The bridge crew felt reality flex around them as they penetrated the anomaly's outer layer. Colors shifted through impossible spectrums, and time itself seemed to stutter and flow like water. "Multiple Alliance vessels approaching," Kai reported, his hands dancing across the controls as he navigated the increasingly chaotic space. "Looks like they're trying to establish a containment barrier. They'll tear themselves apart if they try to force traditional containment," Marcus warned, his eyes fixed on the rapidly changing quantum equations. "Commander, we need to act now. The anomaly's core is becoming unstable." Sarah opened a broadcast channel. "Alliance vessels, this is Commander Chen. Fall back immediately. Your containment fields will only accelerate the deterioration." She switched to internal comms. "Maya, how's that core holding up?" "Pushing the limits, Commander. Quantum field synchronization at 70% and climbing. But we got maybe 10 minutes before the exotic matter destabilizes completely." The Phoenix shuddered as it pushed deeper into the anomaly. Normal space-time laws ceased to exist here, replaced by chaotic quantum fluctuations that threatened to unmake reality itself. Through it all, Kai guided the ship with an almost supernatural precision, responding to shifts in the quantum fabric before they even fully manifested. "Synchronization at 85%, Marcus announced. "We're starting to match its frequency." But he was cut off as a massive temporal shockwave slammed into the ship. Warning klaxons blared as the Phoenix's quantum field fluctuated dangerously. In engineering, Maya fought to stabilize the exotic matter core as it threatened to collapse. On the bridge, reality itself seemed to blur and stretch. "Alliance ships are being affected by the temporal distortion," Kai reported, his voice tight with concentration. "They're pulling back, but the shockwave is spreading." Sarah gripped her command chair as another wave of distortion washed over them. "Marcus, we need options. Now." The scientist's hands flew through the holographic displays, adjusting calculations faster than any computer could process. "The anomaly's quantum signature, it's not random. There's a pattern here, but it's like nothing we've ever seen. It's almost like it's trying to communicate." "Communicate?" Sarah leaned forward, studying the swirling patterns on the main screen. "With who?" "With us," Marcus breathed, his eyes widening with sudden understanding. "The distortions, the frequency shifts, they're not chaos. They're language. The anomaly isn't just bending space-time. It's using it to reach out." Another shockwave hit, stronger than before. In engineering, Maya's voice came through filled with urgency. "Whatever we're going to do, it needs to be soon. Core stability at 40% and dropping." Sarah made a split-second decision. "Marcus, if it's trying to communicate, can we talk back?" "Theoretically, yes, if we modulate our quantum field to match its basic frequency pattern." "Do it," Sarah ordered. "Maya, prepare to channel quantum field energy through the main deflectors. Kai, hold us steady." The Phoenix's drive pulsed with new purpose as Marcus reconfigured their quantum field. The ship began to vibrate at an atomic level, its very structure resonating with the anomaly's strange patterns. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the anomaly's swirling chaos paused. "Energy patterns are shifting," Marcus reported, his voice filled with wonder. "It's responding to our signal." But before they could press their advantage, the exotic matter core gave a dangerous surge. Maya's voice cut through the moment of triumph. "Commander, we've got critical instability. The core can't handle this level of quantum manipulation." The bridge erupted in cascading warnings as systems began to overload. The Phoenix's quantum field flickered dangerously as the experimental drive pushed beyond its design limits. Their first attempt to communicate with the anomaly was about to end in catastrophic failure. "Full power to emergency systems," Sarah commanded. "Kai, get us clear." The Phoenix pulled back from the anomaly's core, its quantum field barely holding together as Kai executed a series of impossible maneuvers through the distorted spacetime. Behind them, the anomaly seemed to pulse with renewed energy, its patterns shifting faster than ever. As they emerged from the outer boundary, Sarah knew they had failed in their first attempt, but they had discovered something unprecedented. The anomaly wasn't just a natural phenomenon. It was trying to make contact. Now they just had to figure out how to survive the conversation. The human element. The Phoenix limped back to a safe distance from the anomaly, its quantum drive cooling after the near-catastrophic overload. In the ship's conference room, Commander Sarah Chen faced her exhausted crew across a table covered in holographic displays showing their failed attempt. "The good news," Marcus said, rubbing his tired eyes, "is that we've confirmed the anomaly is trying to communicate. The bad news is that our quantum field can't maintain the necessary stability for prolonged contact." Maya nodded grimly. "The exotic matter core just isn't designed for that kind of sustained resonance. We'd need 10 times the power and a completely new containment system to match its output." "Which we don't have," Sarah finished. The holographic displays showed the anomaly continuing to grow, its effects now reaching toward populated systems. "But we can't just give up. There has to be another way." Kai, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly sat up straighter. "Maya, you used to work on deep-sea research vessels before joining the space program, right?" The engineer looked puzzled. "Yeah, but what does that have to do with?" "Tell me about how submarines communicate," Kai interrupted, his eyes lighting up with that look that Sarah had learned to recognize. The look of human intuition making connections that Alliance logic would never consider. Maya's expression shifted from confusion to growing understanding. "Through pressure waves in the water, they use extremely low frequencies that can travel thousands of kilometers without losing coherence." She paused, then rushed on. "And in really deep waters, they have to account for thermal layers, pressure gradients, and shifting currents. Just like the quantum layers we're seeing in the anomaly," Marcus breathed, catching on. "The distortions aren't random. They're like ocean currents in space-time." Sarah watched as her crew's excitement built. This was what humans did best, taking knowledge from one field and applying it in completely unexpected ways to solve new problems. "Show me the anomaly structure again," Maya demanded, pulling up new holographic models. "Look at these patterns. They're almost exactly like deep ocean thermoclines, places where temperature and density create natural barriers in the water." Marcus was already modifying equations. "If we treat quantum space like an ocean, with different layers and currents, Maya, could we adapt old sonar principles to work with quantum fields?" "Better than that," Maya replied, her fingers flying over the controls. "We could use something even older, pressure waves themselves. Instead of trying to match the anomaly's full quantum signature, we broadcast simple patterns through the quantum medium, like old Morse code through water." "Using much less power," Sarah noted, seeing where this was going, "and more stability than trying to maintain a complex quantum field." Kai grinned. "Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. The Alliance would never think of it because it's too primitive by their standards." The next few hours were a flurry of activity as the crew adapted centuries-old Earth naval technology to work with quantum physics. Maya reconfigured the quantum drive to emit focused pulses instead of a continuous field, while Marcus translated their intended message into a format that mimicked the anomaly's basic patterns. "Ready for attempt 2, Maya announced finally. "The drive modifications are complete. We're basically turning the Phoenix into a quantum submarine." Sarah took her position on the bridge, watching the anomaly swirl on the main screen. "Take us in, Kai. Nice and slow, just like before." The Phoenix approached the quantum distortion once again, But this time something was different. Instead of trying to match the anomaly's complex quantum signature, they began emitting simple, rhythmic pulses through space-time, patterns that any intelligence should recognize as artificial and deliberate. Quantum pulse series initiated, Marcus reported. Starting with basic mathematical sequences, prime numbers, Fibonacci series, simple geometric progressions. For several tense moments, nothing seemed to happen. Then Kai noticed something. The distortion patterns. They are changing, becoming more regular. It's matching our rhythm, Marcus confirmed, his voice filled with excitement. The anomaly is responding to our pulses with its own patterns. Maya, are you seeing this? Crystal clear, the engineer replied. The quantum feedback is stable, nothing like the overload from before. It's like we're having a conversation in quantum Morse code. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the massive anomaly began to pulse in sync with their signals. The chaotic quantum distortions that had baffled Alliance scientists began to take on an ordered pattern, responding to their simple pressure wave communications. Marcus, Sarah said quietly. What's it saying? The scientists studied the returning patterns intensely. It's repeating our sequences back to us, but with variations, adding new elements, like it's showing us it understands and wants to expand the conversation. Can we send more complex messages? I think so, Marcus nodded. Now that we've established basic communication, we can start building a more sophisticated dialogue. But we need to maintain this same principle. Simple, strong signals that can cut through the quantum noise. Sarah smiled, thinking of how the Alliance would react when they learned that humans had succeeded using technology that predated faster than light travel. Sometimes the oldest solutions were the best ones. You just had to be willing to look backward to move forward. Send our next sequence, she ordered. Let's find out what this thing has been trying to tell us. As the Phoenix continued its quantum conversation, Sarah reflected on how fitting it was that humanity's past was helping to secure its future. Their ancestors had once used simple pressure waves to communicate across Earth's oceans. Now their descendants were using the same principles to communicate across the fabric of space-time itself. The anomaly's patterns grew more complex but remained stable, accepting their primitive but effective method of communication. It was proof that sometimes the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy could learn something from humanity's primitive solutions, if they were willing to listen. Legacy. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Alliance had never been so quiet. Commander Sarah Chen stood before the Council of Seven, but this time the atmosphere was drastically different from her previous appearance. The holographic displays showed the now stable quantum anomaly, its once chaotic patterns transformed into rhythmic, purposeful pulses. Let me understand this correctly, High Counselor Zixtel said, his bioluminescent patterns shifting with barely contained amazement. You communicated with the anomaly using principles derived from underwater sound transmission, sonar and pressure wave physics, yes, Sarah confirmed. Once we stopped trying to match its full quantum signature and instead used simple, powerful pulses, like Morse code through water, we were able to establish basic communication. Behind her, Dr. Marcus Webb stepped forward, directing the Council's attention to a new set of holographic data. The entity within the anomaly is a quantum-based intelligence. It didn't mean to cause damage. It was simply trying to make contact using the only medium it knew, space-time itself. And these patterns? Counselor Lyra asked, her crystalline form refracting light, as she studied the displays. Their language. A quantum language, Marcus confirmed, but structured in ways we can now understand, thanks to Maya's adaptation of deep-sea communication principles. The entity has shared knowledge about quantum mechanics that revolutionizes our understanding of space-time. Ragnarok, the Taurian counselor who had been so dismissive before, shifted uncomfortably. You're saying that primitive Earth technology that predates even basic spaceflight, provided the key to communicating with an advanced quantum intelligence. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most elegant, Sarah replied diplomatically. The entity doesn't think in terms of advanced or primitive. It thinks in terms of what works, just like we do. The council chamber erupted in discussions as the implications sank in. The Phoenix's success had done more than just prevent a catastrophe. It had opened up entirely new fields of physics and communication, and it had done so by combining humanity's past with its present. Maya Patel's voice came through the chamber's comm system from where she was monitoring the quantum entity. "Commander, the entity is requesting to share more information. It seems particularly interested in learning about other human solutions to complex problems." Sarah couldn't help but smile at the irony. The most advanced being they'd ever encountered wanted to learn from humanity's primitive approaches. "Keep the quantum Morse code flowing, Maya. Let's see what we can learn from each other." High Counselor Zixfel's patterns shifted to a deep gold of formal declaration. "Commander Chen, the Alliance owes humanity a debt of gratitude. Not just for resolving this crisis, but for showing us that true advancement sometimes means being willing to look backward in order to move forward. The Phoenix Protocol," Lyra added, "will be established as standard procedure for first contact with quantum-based entities. All Alliance ships will be retrofitted with modified communication systems based on your designs." And Zixtal continued, his patterns now showing the bright silver of decision. "We are recommending that humanity be granted a permanent seat on the Council of Seven, which will soon become the Council of Eight." Sarah stood straighter, feeling the weight of the moment. "The Council honors us, High Counselor, but we don't seek to replace any existing methods or theories. We simply want to add our perspective, our human element, to the galaxy's collective knowledge." "That human element," Ragnarok rumbled, surprising everyone with his change in tone, "may be exactly what this galaxy needs. Your species sees connections where we see only chaos, finds simplicity where we overcomplicate, and dares to try solutions that our logic says should fail." Outside the chamber windows, the quantum entity's pulses created beautiful patterns in the violet sky, a testament to the bridge that had been built between vastly different forms of intelligence. On the Phoenix, Kai and Maya continued their quantum conversation with the entity, using principles that would have been familiar to submarine commanders centuries ago. "What happens now?" Lyra asked, her crystalline form reflecting the quantum pulses. Sarah looked out at the display showing the Phoenix, humanity's improbable ambassador to both the Alliance and their new quantum friends. "Now we keep exploring, keep learning, and keep remembering that every problem has a solution, even if that solution comes from the most unexpected places." As if in response, the quantum entity sent a new pattern of pulses that the Alliance's most sophisticated computers would have found incomprehensible. But thanks to the combination of ancient human ingenuity and modern human determination, its message was clear. This was just the beginning. The Phoenix had done more than save the day. It had changed the galaxy's understanding of both physics and progress. Humanity's primitive solutions had unveiled new possibilities that even the most advanced civilizations had never imagined. And as Sarah looked around the chamber at the assembled representatives of countless worlds, she knew that the true legacy of their mission wasn't just the physics they had discovered or the contact they had made. The true legacy was showing that progress doesn't always mean moving forward. Sometimes it means remembering where you came from, and having the wisdom to know that old knowledge can light new paths across the stars.